Everyone, Jana here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing the best books that I read in 2018, which could also be considered my favorite books in 2018. These are all the books that I rated 5 stars this year. There are 12 physically here, and one that I no longer own that I have to try and remember to talk about. But let's get into it. The first book that I have is Queens of Week by Jen Wilde. I really love this book. I was really engrossed in it. I finished it. I think I finished it on my lunch break the same day that I started it. Yeah, it was a really good book. I recommend it. It is own voices for both bisexual representation and autistic representation. And I just enjoyed it. And I love the cover. It's like one of my favorite colors. It's so bright pink. Ooh, that was loud. The next book that I have is I, Eliza Hamilton by Susan Holloway Scott. I really enjoyed this book. I was really engrossed in the story, and it's kind of a longer story, but it's told from Eliza Hamilton's perspective, and it's, her point of view-ish on her relationship with her husband and her life, and I really enjoyed it. Whoosh. Sorry, I'm tossing them on the floor again, because that's what I do. The next book I have is Eliza and Her Monsters. I read a lot of books with main characters with Eliza this year. This book, I was really engrossed when I got it. I was like, oh, this sounds very amazing, and I got it in an All Crate box. I related to Eliza a lot, especially because she reminded me of my own high school self and what I did a lot when I was in high school. Shut myself in my room and just let my creativity out. Although it wasn't as big as an online presence as this is, but it's still a good story, and I really enjoyed it. And it deals with a lot of stuff. It deals with anxiety and pressure and fandom culture, and it's just an amazing read. Whee! The next book that I have is Star-Crossed by Barbara D., which is a middle grade story, and I love this story a lot. I love not just the story, but I love just the soft palette of the hardcover. But it takes place with a couple 8th graders, and they're doing Romeo and Juliet for their 8th grade play. And this one girl gets cast as Juliet because she's British, and everyone's like, oh, she's perfect for Juliet. And then the other girl develops a crush on her, and just their relationship and their friendship, and it is so sweet. And you can tell that the main character, she is they don't explicitly use the word bisexual, but you can tell. I know the author had her daughter read it, who her daughter is LGBT. I think she's bisexual. I'm not 100% sure, but her daughter read it several times and, critiqued it and said, well, you need to do this just to make sure of that. And I thought it was a great read. I enjoyed it a lot. The next book I have is Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Lauria. I gave this book 5 stars. I was really engrossed in it when I was reading it, especially because I was working on something that was kind of a similar subject matter to this, so I read it and I enjoyed it a lot. I gave it 5 stars. It's about a girl who loses her sister, and her English assignment's to write a letter to the dead person. Her teacher's expecting her to write to her sister. She writes to Kurt Cobain, and she writes to different people, trying to find the right person, and I think it's a good book. The next book is probably my favorite book of the year, which is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I enjoyed this book a lot. I read it probably within 2 days after, starting it. It was a fun read. It takes place with with his grand tour across Europe, with him, his sister, and his best friend, who he also is in love with. And it's amazing, and I'm sure everyone knows what this book's about by now. I don't know why I summed it up, and I really want to read it again in 2018. It's on my to read again list. The next book I have on my list is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This book has been talked about a lot on different channels for a lot of different reasons. It's a good book. It was inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, which is it's so important. And I was engrossed in the story from the very first page I read it, probably within a day or two of after getting it. And yeah, I just love this book and highly recommend it. Okay, the next book is kind of subjective to me anyways. And that is the first of the Codename Sailor V manga. I gave it 5 stars. Because it's kind of like an origin story to my favorite manga of all time. Sailor Man, woo! So I finally read this. And I gave it 5 stars because I loved it and it was amazing, of course. I don't know why it took me so long to actually read that, but I'm happy that I did. The next book that I give 5 stars is Switch by Ingrid Law. I have read the other 2 books of this little, I'm not calling it a trilogy, this little companion series things. This is about a magical family who they don't really call their power magic, they call it their savvy, which in this family could be anything. Her sister, what does her sister do again? I forget what her sister does, but her cousin in the second book can, like, if it's anything mechanical or technologically related, he can touch it, it combusts, and then I think he can touch it again and can go back together. Anyways, Gypsy's savvy is to look into the future. But as soon as she's told that her grandmother on her father's side, who doesn't have any magical powers, is going to be living with them, everyone's magical powers in their family switches, according to the cover. She has the power to stop time, and her brother has the power to... Brother who doesn't have a magical power yet because he's not 13. He has the power to grow big, which in contrast to what he was originally supposed to do is grow little. And then her other brother who can turn invisible, he sets things on fire now and is out there in the open. And then her mother who is perfect by, like, no fault, like she perfectly does cake. She is now not perfect in any way possible, and it's amazing. And I love this book. And also dealt with another issue with her grandmother having Alzheimer's, which they called old timers like throughout the book, which when I was a kid is what I called old timers because it sounds a lot like the same. And I really enjoyed this book. And it's going to be going to my mom's classroom very soon. Then the next book I have over here is My Family for the War by Anne C. Vorhoff. It's a translated work. It also deals with a family who, they don't consider themselves Jewish anymore, but they have enough Jewish ancestry to be whatever. I don't know, to be discriminated against in Nazi Germany. And then, so, her family puts her on the Kinder transport, and she ends up in Britain, and she ends up in a Jewish family, and then, you know, her whole faith changes, because she considers herself Protestant. So when she gets there, the adopted mother's like, well, we wanted a Jewish child, but they love her anyways, and it's an amazing story, and they end up being her family through, like, it discusses what family is. It's either, is it the people who care for you, or is it the people who are biologically related to you, and what happens when you don't see your family for years? Are they still your biological family? Are they still, can you still consider them your family? And it's a very good book, and I really enjoyed it. The next book that I have over here is Copper Sun by Sharon M. Draper. This is a story about a girl who is in Africa, and she has someone who she is planning to marry. And when her village is attacked, and they're all either killed, if they're too young, or if they're too old, or have any sort of ailments. The ones who are left living are the young, the strong, the ones who can make the journey across the sea. And she's sold into slavery, and then she meets another person named Polly, who's an indentured servant to the same family where she is purchased into. And they don't like each other at first, but then they soon get along, and at one point they both run away together. And it is a good story, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was really engrossing. I read it in about a day, and I recommend this. If you can, pick it up. Whoosh! And then the next book I have is a graphic novel. It's Wires and Nerve by Marissa Meyer. This is a graphic novel that features Aiko from the Lunar Chronicles, and I enjoyed it a lot. I read it, again, in about a day. There's a theme, like, my favorite books, for me to rate a book 5 stars, I have to be fully engrossed in it. Like, I do not want to put it down and read it in a very interesting time span. That allows me to. Like, other books, I will be reading them, but then I won't pick them up. But these books are all books I gave 5 stars to because I couldn't get enough of. Anyways, these are all the best books of 2018, which can also be called my favorite books. Oh, and one more. The 13th book, which I no longer have, is Hate List by Jennifer Brown. I read it because I was sorely disappointed in This Is Where It Ends by Marie Kninchkamp. It is about a school shooting. It's about the aftermath of the school shooting and also flashbacks to when the school shooting was actually happened, in contrast to This Is Where It Ends, where it's actually happening and it takes place in 30 minutes. But I thought Hate List was done so much better than This Is Where It Ends, and yeah. Anyways, yes, again, this has been my favorite / best books of 2017. You know, it's been an interesting year for reading, and yeah, I'm actually happy that I have this many books to share with y'all about. I don't know what's going on with my hands. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.